Let's go. Good afternoon. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Talk to Me, Africa.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to try to introduce you to my audience a little bit and see what let them know about you. Then we shall get talking. We're going to be talking to women today, and I'm just glad that you got to come on the show in March, which is Women's Month, and there's a lot that women need to talk about themselves. And you are already doing that in
Absolutely.
your own corner. But thank you for coming to share that with us today. So, Sarah, you wait, hold on 1 second. My throat is killing me. So, you're also known as Women's Weight Loss and Body Love Coach. I like that. Women's Weight Loss and Body Love Coach. We have to love our bodies. So, you are an integrative nutrition health coach, weight loss and diabetes expert, certified personal trainer, and speaker. You are also a single 40-something-year-old single mom. What a way to put it out there. And also a breast cancer survivor. Good for you. Your
Yes,
passion
and
is
I have to make a confession.
Mhm.
My website needs to be updated because I'm actually 50 something now instead of 40
You are
something.
not 50 something. You look good.
My birthday is next week. I'll be 53.
Oh my goodness. Wow, you
Well,
look
thank
great. I,
you.
I have to learn from you what you're doing. And you say your passion is walking alongside successful women to achieve their ideal weight and finally get control of their diet and health forever. It's not a one-time thing, it's forever for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, because that's what we're looking for.
Mhm.
Where so many women are struggling
Mhm.
with, they try a diet, they lose some weight, and then it sort of spirals out, they get off track, and then they gain it back. And women are so frustrated, and my heart goes out to them. And that's sort of the biggest issue is the maintaining. And so that is one of my biggest focuses is how do I help you learn how to do it, but then also maintain it?
Mhm. I mean, I think you're practicing it yourself because looking at you in your 50s, you look really good. And so you are losing the weight, maintaining the body in your mid-life.
Yes. And I firmly believe you have to practice what you preach. And just a little bit about my history. When my son, well, I have two kids that are in college now, so I'm just now experiencing empty nest because my younger started this
Mhm.
fall. But back when he was only 6 years old, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes,
Mhm.
which is a different disease than type 2. It's much less common, and they don't even know what causes it, and there is no cure. So you can't make it better, you can't make it worse. You didn't bring it on with any lifestyle or anything. They call it juvenile diabetes because usually happens in childhood. And that was sort of the impetus to me studying nutrition and health and fitness
Mhm.
is I wanted to learn how to take care of him. And I realized if I'm going to teach him how to take care of himself, I have to be doing the same. And
For
so does my whole
yourself.
family. Yeah, I
Mhm.
had an older daughter. I was married at the time. I'm since divorced. But I started learning all about how to take care of the body
Mhm.
and not just how, but in a way that's balanced and
Yeah.
practical, that
Mhm.
it's kid friendly, that's mom friendly when you're busy and you're working. I was working full time. Now I have a child with a medical issue. And so it had to really like work with your lifestyle, and it also had to be something that's not like restrictive and miserable and feeling like you're on a diet, because that's where that on again, off again thing
Yeah.
happens. And
Yeah.
I didn't want my kids to feel, especially my son, like, oh, you can never have a cupcake now because you're diabetic.
Mm.
And thinking that oh, great, my whole life is going to be miserable ahead of
Yeah.
me. That just wasn't an option. So I learned how to do it in a really doable way. And I realized, because I was in a totally different career back then, I was in graphic design. And I realized this is my calling because this is working for me for years. It was worked for us for 4 or 5 years before I decided to go back to school, because I was like, all the women around me are struggling with this same thing. And they were
Yeah.
asking me, what are you doing? How did you do this? How do you
Mhm.
make your kids eat vegetables? And what do you guys drink if you're not
Yeah.
drinking, sodas and things like
Mhm.
that?
Mhm.
And so I just started talking about it and realized that there's such a need. I live in East Tennessee, and there's a huge prevalence of type 2 diabetes and obesity
Why?
here.
Just Western America or?
A number of reasons. It's Southern cooking is one.
Mm.
They grew up eating a lot of high fat,
Mhm.
fried foods. Another is access to healthy food that you can afford, because it's a
Mhm.
very low socioeconomic area in general.
Mhm.
And so being able to afford the healthy foods, and that's one of the things I help women do, is you can eat healthy on a budget.
On a
You don't
budget.
have to. Yes, exactly. And so there's a whole lot of reasons. It's generational. Um, but I was realizing there's a need for this.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided to go back to school. And that's when I decided to work with women primarily, because let's face it, we're the primary drivers
We
of
are.
the health of the family and what
Mhm.
they're eating. And men are coming along, they're starting to cook and help, and I don't want to diss any men out there,
No.
but let's face it, we're taking on the meal planning and the
Mhm.
shopping and the preparing, and so
Mhm.
what we're doing is what the family
So did
is going
that
to
turn
do.
your son's situation around, or did some medication help, or just what you did helped?
Well, his body doesn't make insulin now.
Mhm.
That's what type 1 diabetes is. And so you have to get insulin forever
Mhm.
artificially. So he
Mhm.
wears an insulin pump that's constantly giving him insulin. And with type 2, you're still making insulin, but your body's not using it effectively. So that's where they differ. And as long as you are taking care of your health in both cases,
Mhm.
you can be healthy. If you're type 2, you can avoid medication or get off medication or reverse your condition.
Mhm.
If you're type 1, you can't. You'll always be on insulin,
Yeah.
but your body can be perfectly healthy,
Mhm.
and the repercussions as far as your health are the same with both diseases.
Mhm.
High blood sugar causes inflammation, causes damage to your organs, your kidneys can damage your eyesight, your circulation. That's where people lose limbs and that kind of thing. And I was like, no, that's not
That's not
happening.
happening to my son. Yeah, I've heard. I mean, a doctor had told me one time that diabetes is diabetes. Type 1, type doesn't matter. Just take care of yourself because you have insulin problems. But
Yes.
now, how did that bring you into the picture of taking care of yourself? Did you have your own problems? Were you overweight? You thought, oh, working outside my son and my family is going to help me take care of myself at the same time. Why you as well?
Yes. Well, I wasn't considered overweight,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't at my healthiest
Yes. Yeah.
weight.
And you were in your
And
40s at the time.
I was in my late 30s, I think, early
Okay.
40s, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
And that's the
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
when
because he was
that's
6. So I was
and
in my
that's
late
when women
late
start
30s.
having metabolism issues and gaining weight and just getting chubby in some areas at
Yeah, and
once.
I had 2 kids and I was working
Mm-hmm.
full time, which a lot of women can relate to, and it's hard to find time
Mm-hmm.
to take care of your health. And I
And
was
eat the right
drinking
foods.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was drinking Diet Coke all day to
Mm-hmm.
keep me having energy, because I was tired, and we had a lot of snacks around the house, chips, and I always kept Oreos in the cabinet, and so we kind of had a little bit of dessert after
Mm-hmm.
dinner or in the afternoons, and there was just too much of it. It wasn't that we were extremely unhealthy. And
Mm-hmm.
the lucky thing for me is I've always enjoyed exercise. I've been an athlete since I was in middle school and even elementary school. So I've always been active. So that kind of saved me. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women have not had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have kids, you get quote baby weight, and then it's harder to get it off because you're busy and you're exhausted. And then you start entering that perimenopause phase, which
Yes.
is like 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and the weight is creeping even more because your hormones are changing and your metabolism is changing and you're still super busy. And so many of us, including myself, have sedentary jobs where we don't have a choice, but we're sitting
You're
at
sitting
a
eight
desk
hours a
all
day.
day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the perfect storm for metabolic issues to start happening, like pre-diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure and high cholesterol and all of those things. So I want to teach women how to avoid that if they're on that end of the spectrum. But if they're already perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, and experiencing these things, all hope is not lost. You can
Mm-hmm.
absolutely get your health back.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be with these extreme diets where you're drinking shakes and ordering frozen foods and all these, stuff that doesn't work.
And avoiding
And
foods.
exactly, good and bad foods, and
Mm-hmm.
just restricting and feeling deprived. And another, major life incident, I don't know what you would call it, event for me was when I was 47, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that was right before COVID. That was at the fall of 2019. And here I was super healthy, doing all the right things, teaching physical, fitness classes, personal trainer, teaching yoga, eating all the right things. But sometimes, cancer doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't.
And this came out of nowhere for me. And it was a big, huge, huge life changing shift for me, both physically and mentally and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I had stage 2, I had 20 rounds of chemotherapy, 25 rounds of radiation, and a double mastectomy with 3 follow up surgeries. So that was pretty extreme.
Yeah.
And it really knocked me back several steps as far
Mm.
as my strength and my energy and my wellness, because it was a 2-year process, really, of getting through all of those treatments.
At the same time, taking care of your son, who's
Yes.
diabetic.
Yes. Yes. My kids were teenagers by now. And my son was finishing middle school. My daughter was in high school. So they were more self sufficient. So
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, at least they weren't so small that I had to do every single little
For them.
thing.
Yeah.
But what that taught me was, you really need your health because you don't know what's going to happen. If you
Mm-hmm.
need a surgery, or if you have anything, an accident or an illness, even not cancer, but it could be something smaller, pneumonia, or if you don't have your health, your body is going to really struggle to get through that. And it's going to take longer. And in the case of cancer, a lot of people can't withstand the treatments and the surgeries because of their health. It breaks down their body too much. Chemotherapy is chemicals bombarding your body. So luckily, I was nourishing myself and I knew how to care for my body so that I could get through those treatments that were curing the cancer and come out on the other side. And I, of course, had lost a lot of strength and those kinds of things. But because I had my health, I just slowly started rebuilding. And I'm 5 years cancer free as of March 10th. And I am feeling amazing, vibrant, energetic. I have my strength back, I have my hair back.
Beautiful hair, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, I can do everything that I used to do,
Mm-hmm.
even though that happened in my late 40s and I'm now almost 53. So that is a huge testament to the strength of your body and the resiliency, and how what an incredible complicated machine miracle that we are.
I
And
think
the
it's also
other,
a huge testament to nutrition
oh,
and
it
health
is.
and disease.
Absolutely.
Because if you had not been preparing your body to receive the right foods, and then you get knocked off by cancer, and then you have to go through chemotherapy and all the radiation, you might not have been able to stand it and survive on the
Exactly.
other side, like you were saying. So what would you tell people about, because you're also a nutrition coach, the way
Hmm.
we eat and sickness? What is the connotation or the correlation about between food and our health?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's everything. Um, Food is medicine.
Yep.
So food can be medicine or food can be poison. So doctors take what's called the Hippocratic Oath.
Hmm.
And Hippocrates was the one that said food is medicine.
The father of medicine, yeah. Hmm.
That's where it starts. And what you're putting in your body is going to depend on going to create the health of every cell in you.
Mm,
We
mm,
literally are what we eat. So if
yeah.
you're eating fast food, processed food, junk foods, tons of sugar, that's what your body's made up of. And it's going to be much weaker. It's
Mm,
not going to, you don't have enough red blood cells to fight off disease. Your gut health becomes out of balance, and that's where
mm,
your immune system is. That's where hormones are produced. And funny enough, that's where a lot of your brain chemicals are produced, which affect depression and anxiety and those kinds of things. So eating in what they call the SAD, Standard American Diet, which is
mm,
such a sad state of affairs, sets off this chain of events toward illness. And that's when you start developing type 2 diabetes and obesity and heart disease and cholesterol and all of those things. So you can literally turn around or prevent these things from happening in large part with the foods that you're putting in your body. You've
mm,
got to have the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals. You've got to have the protein, which creates muscle. You've got to have tons of fruits and vegetables and fiber because that's your digestion is the
mm.
fiber.
Yeah.
And fast foods and convenience foods have none of that.
None of those, yeah. When I first came to America, of course, this is called Talk to Me Africa. I came from Africa to America. I was trying to understand what is American food. Like, what is American food? Because what I saw was everything is like some bread and something in between. You go to pizza, it's some bread and something on top of it. You go to burgers, it's some bread. I'm like, okay, so what is American food? I was saying so in comparison to where I came from, because I come from Cameroon, where we have hundreds of ethnic groups, right? And each
Right.
ethnic group has its cultural meal. And those cultural meals are some kind of vegetable and some starch, some kind of soup and some starch. And so you can identify the different types of foods that we eat. And there are just variety of them. And then I'm like, okay, what is American food? They tell me, oh, pizza is from Italy. Blah, blah. I'm like, okay, then what is American food? Now, if you are a typical American born and raised, and you are like, thinking like me, what is American food? And okay, it's the burgers, it's the pizzas, it's the pop, it's the soda. Do you just start making your own because you want to eat healthier and say, okay, a typical meal that looks like broccoli and maybe a piece of chicken is not really American food, but you make it up yourself? Is that how you would tell somebody like me to say, oh, we don't really have a specific good American food? Because even if you have a dish, there's a little bit of broccoli at the corner, but there's that big piece of bread on it. So will you tell me as an immigrant to say, hey, we don't really have a specific American healthy diet, make your own?
Well, yeah. And the beautiful thing about America is, like you, there are people who have immigrated here from all different countries. And so we
Hmm.
have the culinary
Ah,
influences, which is
ah.
wonderful. Thai food is one of my
Mhm,
favorites.
mhm.
I also love sushi. I love Italian food. I love all different types of foods, and they're all available in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the burgers and that kind of thing, yeah, those are typical American. And sadly, those are starting to spread out into other
Oh,
countries. And now they're
absolutely.
starting to eat,
Yes.
it's ruining their food supply. And the reason that that stuff got so popular is that the food industry realized if we jack up the sugar content and the salt content, people are going to love those flavors. Those are big flavors,
Mhm.
and they're going to come back for more and more
Yeah.
and more. So it's all about their bottom line. They're like, we're going to sell whatever gets people hooked on these foods. And they are addictive. These foods are addictive.
Very.
It's been proven, it's been actually proven in science. And I always say you vote with your dollars. Whatever you buy the most of is what is going to get mass produced. And if you buy more vegetables, there's going to be more farmers because it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
So, really, going back to your question about, okay, how do you figure out what to eat? You can eat any style of food that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking at your plate, you need to make sure that you're getting half the plate with some types of fruits or vegetables
Mm-hmm.
and a fourth of the plate with some type of protein.
Good. Okay.
And then if you want a starch, if you want a carbohydrate, go with things that are naturally as close to nature as possible, like brown rice, sweet potatoes, white potatoes. And if it's bread, whole grain bread. But don't overdo it. There should be
Yeah.
one portion, maybe two in, depending, but
Mhm.
you don't overdo that. Too many of us make the starch the main portion of the meal, like a big bowl of rice with a little bit of stuff on it, or a big bowl of
Mhm.
pasta,
Mhm.
or a bread, a Subway sandwich, a sub sandwich that's all bread and a little bit of meat. So it's just about the proportion of your meal, and then you can flavor it up any way you like. You can
Right.
use any recipes.
Mhm.
It's just basic.
Yeah. Yeah. Make your own. Make your own. And then today
Yeah, and
everything
you
is
can
becoming.
get healthier food at restaurants and places like that. It's not going to be as healthy as if you make it yourself, but a
Mhm.
lot of women don't have time to just be in the kitchen every day and making dinner every night. So there's nothing wrong with eating out sometimes,
But
but
what
you
do you eat when
really
you? Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
you watch where you go and educate yourself.
That's
You
right.
can get the nutrition information online, and I sort of have a few go-to places because I know what I can order there that will taste good and that will be nutritious. And then if it's Friday night and I don't feel like cooking, we'll get some of that. Or
That's
if
right.
we're traveling and we're on the road, or if I'm just, you know, in a rush or didn't pack lunch or whatever, there are options.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Mercy of All Mercy Psychiatry and Integrative Care who's online watching, and she says hello. And if you're in the Texas area, she has a conference going on as well. She's a mental health practitioner, and the conference is called Our Wellness Conference. So it's holistic, telling you everything about your body and even your own security. They're going to be police officers to talk about safety there, and it's kind of related to what we're talking about today. Who are you as a whole person, as a woman, especially taking care of yourself. Now, let's talk about women right now, sex and menopause, which is something that affects all women. I tell you, I'm in my 40s. And because I do this show a lot and I get to talk to great people like yourself, I get to learn a lot. And I thought that I wasn't ready to talk about menopause until I had a doctor on my show who said, oh, no, you start the talk with your doctor because if you wait to feel the symptoms, it's going to be a little bit too late for you. And so I began talking about menopause with my doctor, and I have no symptoms yet. But when should we start talking about these things? Because you talk about midlife and menopause and sex. So if somebody who is not as outgoing or knowledgeable as I am, having talked to people like you and just go see my doctor and say, hey, talk about menopause. I'm not there yet, but can we talk about it? When will you ask women or advise women to start having this conversation about menopause with their doctors?
Well,
Midlife?
let me just say, you have a really good doctor because they don't all do that.
Oh,
They don't
wow.
all bring your attention to it soon enough. They
She was glad
wait.
I brought it up.
Yeah, a lot of healthcare, sadly, is more like sick care. It's wait till
Hmm.
you're sick, and then we'll
Yeah.
give you medicine to help with the symptoms.
Hmm.
But well care means
Hmm.
doing things ahead of time. And that's what I am. I am the let's avoid the sick and the medications.
Hmm.
Let's be well and stay well. And same thing with menopause, because the woman's body goes through phases,
A
right?
lot of
We go
faces.
through puberty,
Hmm.
and then we're in our childbearing fertile years,
Hmm.
and then the chain of events starts changing. The hormones gradually start changing, and that's perimenopause. And that happens, it could be early 40s. I mean, some people will go through very early menopause, but that's rare. Usually it's 42, 43, 45
Wow.
ish. Every woman is different.
Hmm.
Every woman is different,
Hmm.
but I am proudly postmenopausal. So I've been through the process. I was helped along by chemotherapy.
Hmm.
I was in perimenopause at 47. And then immediately when I started chemotherapy, I never had a period again. So that facilitated the very quick change
Hmm.
right over to menopause. And a lot of shifts happen
Hmm.
with your body. And you do want to be aware of those shifts and how to take care of yourself through that process. Because when we think of menopause, it doesn't get talked about enough, for
No,
one
it
thing.
doesn't.
And so in our minds, it's like a thing to dread. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, this is old ladies. This is when you get all wrinkled and dried up. This is when you're going downhill and you're no longer young. You're no longer vibrant. And I say just the opposite, because now you're so much smarter and you've had experience and you're wiser, and now it's time to take the bull by the horns
Hmm.
and shed some of these things that don't serve us
Hmm.
in life. It's kind of like, all right, this is going to be my second half now, and I want to make it as good as possible.
Hmm.
And if you take care of your body, a lot of times you won't even have the menopausal
Hmm.
symptoms. Every woman's different, though, as far as
Hmm.
that goes. But you really want to have, it's kind of like teaching your daughter about menstruation before it happens. You don't
Hmm.
wait until the day she starts her period.
And she's
You
shocked. Like, I
have,
said
yeah, you start in, much younger, like 2, 3, 4 years,
before.
whatever is,
Hmm.
but in the past, our mothers, grandmothers didn't talk to their daughters about it, and it was a huge shock. And then menopause became this hush hush, ooh, don't talk about that.
You're
But
doing that hot flashes thing. It's like a taboo.
yeah, but hello, 50% of the world population is going to go through this.
Yeah.
So we need the information, and we also need to feel comfortable talking about it. And that's one of the reasons I work mainly now with women in midlife, because I know how it feels.
Hmm.
I'm there and I know how great it can be. And I think we need to be shifting the whole mindset
We
around
absolutely need to. It's
menopause.
funny because women's conversation seems to be a taboo topic around anybody, even around women. So my daughter is 8 and she is in a sports group called Girls on the Run. So if you've heard
Yeah, I
about Girls
know
on
it
the Run.
very well.
So they're doing a fundraiser and I go to work. I say, hey, I'm raising funds for my daughters, 5K coming up. She's 8, blah, blah, blah. And then I had 3 people in the room, a man and 2 women. And a lady said, so what's the money for? I explained, they want to get running shoes and their uniforms and training bras. For some girls, they go, oh, training bras. I'm like, yeah. Don't say it. I'm like, it's training bras. They're like, oh, I'm like, why can't I say training bras? Why does any topic that has to do with women seems to be a taboo? What is wrong with saying training bras? What's wrong with that?
Absolutely.
And so it
Absolutely.
takes us to the point of I cannot say period, I cannot say menopause, I cannot say childbirth because it's a woman's conversation. Why? It's about time we bring this to the clear. It is happening, and that is what you're doing. But you focus a lot more on midlife. And in researching for this show, I read that midlife is a stage in adulthood, typically ranging from the late 30s to mid 50s, though it can vary depending on cultural and individual factors. It's often seen as a time of reflection where people assess their accomplishment. Like you say, you have experiences, it's time for you to just live your life now. You can do it. So women are in midlife. When I read it and he said 30, I'm like, 30s, you're already in your midlife. Anyway, the point is about the health I'm trying to get to here. What makes sex or intimacy different when you are in midlife?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into
Okay,
this.
let's hear them.
Well, first of all, your body is changing.
Mm,
Your hormones are changing, and it affects your body physically and also mentally and emotionally. Physically, you're a lot of times testosterone is going down,
mhm,
and that affects your sex drive. So
mhm,
that could be lower. Not for everyone though. Some women in this phase of life feel less worried about what people think about them
mhm,
and less self-conscious and
mhm,
wanting to have pleasure, wanting to enjoy intimacy. But there are also a lot of women on the other side of the coin who don't feel comfortable in their bodies.
mhm,
And like I said before, the weight, some women in midlife are experiencing that weight creep and they want to hide. And that can affect intimacy to a large degree.
mhm,
And so it can be an amazing, empowering time, or you can have the opposite experience.
mhm,
And I want to teach women how to have the empowering experience and be able to enjoy their sex life for decades to come,
mhm.
because it's an important part of life. And a lot of women look at the menopause years as, all right, well, let's put that behind me. Don't care about that anymore. That's over. I don't need to procreate anymore. So what's the point? And sex and intimacy is a wonderful gift
Yeah.
of life. And I believe it should be something that we enjoy even more during this phase.
Mhm. And you say when women, some women think that when they get to middle age, they want to hide. My doctor told me that some of the symptoms of menopause, you start getting weight around your belly area.
Midsection.
Yeah, your midsection. And that could cause women to hide because you don't feel as, attractive as you used to be. You don't feel as appealing to a man or your partner as you used to be. And you talk a lot about weight loss, health, and exercise. So, would you say that in order for us women to feel more appealing during this time of our lives when we're going through menopause and we're in the midlife, um, should we get more involved in exercise so that we look physically good and then we feel good and then we can be more open to intimacy, even though we are at that age where people think, you're done, no more intimacy for you.
Yes. I think we should definitely be getting healthier and more active. And as a result,
Mm-hmm.
we will start to release that weight, especially around the
Yeah.
belly. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's a prerequisite for starting to enjoy our bodies
Right.
and be happy about receiving pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach a lot about body love and body respect, because that's where it has to start. There are women of all shapes and sizes and ages and phases who are very uncomfortable in their bodies.
Yep, that's
I
right.
was one of those people, even though I was slim and athletic growing up, I still looked in the mirror and did not like what I saw. And I see women dealing with this all over the world. All doesn't matter their age, doesn't matter their weight. And
Mm,
then it gets compounded in midlife when, like you said, we start accumulating more around the midsection.
mhm,
And that comes from hormonal changes. And the biggest thing we can do is start building muscle by strength training because muscle burns calories 24 hours a day and we're losing muscle. That's one of the reasons we start accumulating fat is at age 30 your muscle mass peaks and then you lose 3 to 5% every decade. But you don't have to. It's like a if you don't use it you lose it
you lose it.
situation.
Yeah.
And trying to increase muscle mass will help
Mhm.
with that belly area.
I know.
It's when you are sedentary and you're eating and then all of that doesn't have anywhere to go because you aren't burning it off and it accumulates. There are a lot of reasons physically why it starts accumulating in that midsection area in midlife. But the biggest thing is if you can start getting active, you can turn that around.
Mm,
But like I said before, the inner work is actually much more important as
mhm.
far as feeling comfortable in your body than the outer work because you
Yeah,
could achieve that and still not be happy.
yeah.
And
As
one
an
of
African, when I came to America, and I started hearing about body positivity, it felt like they're saying that you have to be slim. Oh, no, no, no. They're saying that you have to accept us who are bigger because it seems like in America, people who are bigger are shamed for being bigger. Where I come from, being bigger is wealth. They're like, oh my goodness, that person is fat, so they're good.
exactly.
And it was in America where I learned not to use the word fat to describe people because it seems to be an insult. But where I come from, it's like, oh, that fat woman, that fat man. It's normal because I tell you, look, in Cameroon, where I come from, and in most African countries, when you get married as a woman and you're tiny, people watch you. After a year, you're still tiny. Go, is he treating you right? Why are you not gaining weight? What's wrong? What's the problem? So it just depends on where you come from. And so it made me become more cautious when I use the word fat in America. Like, it's describing somebody where I come from. It's not insulting somebody. And so, do you encourage women to love who they are, no matter what body they are in? Because we don't all have to be that tiny twig to look good or to like who we
Right.
are. Why is that acknowledgement of body positivity only on one side? Why?
Yes, you're so right. Beauty standards are very different all over the world.
Hmm.
Different cultures think that if you are skinny, you're unhealthy, you're not going to bear children very well,
Oh, yeah.
or you're not being treated well, you're not wealthy enough to eat well. And in America, somehow, for whatever reason, having zero body fat or as little as possible is considered beautiful.
Mhm.
In some countries, women are bleaching their skin
Oh,
because they
yeah.
want to look lighter.
Hmm.
Well, in America,
The
I'm
tanning.
white and we're putting tanning lotion and oils on to darken our skin. And in Asian countries, they want to be as light as possible. They don't even let their skin see the sun. Different cultures have different facial features, different eyes, different noses, and they're getting plastic surgery to be more like Americans or whatever. And so, no matter what you look like, you're going to be beautiful to someone and ugly to
For another
someone.
person. Good.
And we shouldn't be that ball that's getting knocked around.
Yeah.
I call it like a pinball machine, where it bounces off one thing and then it goes in another direction and then it bounces off another. We don't need to we don't need to prove to the outside world that we're beautiful,
Mhm.
that holds us down.
Yeah.
That keeps us feeling ashamed and small, and that keeps us quiet. And that keeps us from going for that job, taking that vacation, speaking our minds. It is a way of the world keeping women inferior.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more we can realize that, the more we can step into our power and say, you know what? I do not give a crap what you think about my body. You have no right to even judge my body.
Yeah.
And once you come into your own, I do think we need to respect our bodies and care for our bodies and
Mhm.
nourish our bodies, but we do not need to fit into any mold.
No, we do not. I
And
mean, this is me right here. I've talked about it on my show before. Growing up, I did not like my forehead. I just don't know why. And so I'd always have hairstyles with little bangs. Like if I have braids now, I would like been covering something. But as I became an adult, I was like, wait, what? This is who I am. And if you see me, I do not hide I love it. I have grown to love it. So I think that it should come from the self first before it goes to the outside. They say that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Be your own beholder before somebody else beholds you and say that you look beautiful or not. So when you talk with women who are in their 40s or 50s about intimacy and menopause, do you have women complain about the way they look even at this age of their lives?
oh, oh, yes,
Hmm.
it's rampant. It's rampant. It's almost all women. Now, of course, I'm a coach, so the ones who are struggling are the one that's who I see. That so that I
Okay.
see that every single day. Women
Wow.
are not feeling comfortable in their bodies. They don't want to be seen. They don't want to be in pictures. They don't want to take a vacation because you might have to wear a bathing suit or shorts or short sleeves or things like that. And so that's why my title is Weight Release and Body Love, because for me, releasing weight is the happy side effect of treating your body well. But
Mhm.
that's what all women think they need. And so
But,
that's where they come to me. It's
but
that
Sarah,
key.
who defines what you have to wear? Where?
Exactly.
Who says when you go to the beach, you have to have your butt cheeks exposed? You have to have a lot of your chest exposed to feel beautiful. Who said that? We have an outfit in Cameroon we call kaba. It's just like, think about like a normal nightgown, right? Which it's so airy, so freeing. Why can't we wear that to the beach and feel okay? Who defines that? Who?
Exactly.
So if a woman thinks that
Society
she
comes up
cannot
with
fit into
these
a bikini,
ideas.
she can't go anywhere. I think it's time for
Mhm.
women to start defining how they want to look like. Because if you look at what the world, some people who call themselves the beauty standard creators are telling you you have to do, then we will always never go forward. Because you always never go to the beach and see that woman who thinks she is not attractive because she cannot have her butt cheeks out and feel okay about it. You can still wear something different and be at that same location. Who defines what we have to wear, where, and when? Who?
Exactly. We do. But
That's the point. We women.
we're looking for that outward validation, and that's
Hmm.
where your inner work has to come. And I think that is a beautiful part of midlife,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're feeling unhappy, if you don't like your body, if you don't feel good about yourself, sometimes being uncomfortable is a catalyst for doing something different and seeking something. And that's one of the biggest things I coach women on. It's imperative to do your inner work and find who you really are, who you really want to be, what you really want the second half of your life to look like,
Mm-hmm.
and why you are incredible and beautiful and worthy.
Wow.
Because it goes back to childhood wounds
Mm.
and growing up and when you're a kid, you accept everything that is said to you as the truth and reality. So if
Mhm.
you're bullied at school for not looking a certain way, I know I got made fun of for my nose all the time. My nose was too big. Um, now I embrace it because I'm like,
Wow.
this makes me look like me. And my family came from the former Yugoslavia. And so I have Slavic features, but we get told all these things and we internalize it as I'm not good enough because of XYZ, because I didn't make the best grades, because I wasn't the best at sports, because I didn't look a certain way. And we grow up thinking we're not good enough. So we're always trying to do better, to work harder, to look better. And in doing so, we punish our bodies and we think we're motivating ourselves by looking in the mirror and going, you don't look good enough. So you better do this. You better force yourself to the gym. You better eat those gross diet foods. If you want to be good enough, that's what you have to do. And I think in midlife, these physical changes, these hot flashes, the weight changing, all of those are sort of your body's signal and a way of making you feel uncomfortable enough to start seeking where that change needs to happen. And if you don't do that inner work, you
Mhm.
will never get there, wherever you think there is, because it doesn't exist. You'll never reach that bar.
It's
And
funny.
if you just listen to what society keeps telling you you need to do, beauty products, they're like, buy our thing and you will get this. Like, look at this beautiful model. Look how happy she is. Look how carefree and joyful. So if you use this face cream,
You would
that's
feel
what
that
you're going to
better.
have.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
not true.
No, it's not true. I mean, I studied advertising in undergraduate, and one of the things I'll never forget is the professor said that every commercial has a pinch of lie. That model you see smiling on that billboard might have struggled to take one good picture, which is on the billboard. She might have been going through a lot during the photo shoot, you don't know. And so they capture that one that just tells you how happy she is. That's not her life. You don't know who she looks like. And talking about beauty standards, I mean, I grew up in Africa where people always insult you if you had big behind, and then if you had like big lips. Today people go do BBLs. They go do what's this thing called Botox to have bigger lips and all that thing. So again, who defines beauty? I think it's about time for women to define it for themselves, okay? If I am this brown skin looking and you are that lighter skin looking, you are beautiful and I am beautiful, period. Let nobody come tell you that, hey, you got to move to that side in order to look better. And as we get older, in our midlife as women, our physical bodies change a lot, especially for those who have given birth to children. And we have to accept those bodies before others accept us. Now, when you
Yes.
stick with these women who face this problem, how long does it take for them to come back and say, Sarah, you've helped me, and I think I'm in a better place now? How long does it take?
Every woman's journey is different.
Hmm.
Everyone's starting at a different place.
Yeah.
Some people are brand new to starting to learn to respect and love and care for their bodies.
Hmm.
Some people have already started doing the inner work. So it really depends on the person. I
Hmm.
know for me, what really accelerated my inner work and my acceptance of self was having breast cancer, because before breast cancer, I was super critical of my body all the time, any little flaw. And I'm in my late 40s, so things are starting to change and wrinkles are happening and all of those. I've had 2 children and a C section. And then I get cancer and I have to have a chemotherapy port surgically put in my chest. So I have a scar on my upper chest. And I have a double mastectomy. So I had completely flat chest for an entire year before they could do the reconstruction. I had major reconstructive surgery where they took skin and muscle from my back and used it to build the breasts in the front. So I have massive scarring. And over this period, now I'm 5 years older. So still I'm in menopause now and more wrinkles are coming and all of those things. So objectively, if I just stood back and looked at myself before cancer and after cancer, just superficially, I would say I look worse now. You know, I have heavier weight, all these scars, and I'm older. But actually, I feel better than I have ever felt about myself in my life. I love going on vacation. I wear whatever I want. I feel good in my body and in my clothes. And it's because I've realized how, when I went through all those treatments, how powerful and incredible my body was, and how resilient and strong it is, and how it's been able to birth babies. It was able to beat cancer. It was able to withstand abuse and neglect and shame. And that is beauty. Beauty is not what you look like to the outside world, which we've already said can't be defined because it's different for everybody. And I think once you start, I tell women to start with body respect, not body love, because body love feels too hard. You just
Yes.
can't immediately go, oh yeah, I love my body. Start respecting it. Start looking at what it does. Your feet move one in front of the other and get you where you want to go. Your hands do your work. They hug your loved ones. They've held your children. If you've given birth, your body literally created a human. So start noticing all the strong, incredible things your body has done and saying, wow, look at you. Look at you. Look what you did. And when you start respecting it, you also want to care for it. You want to nourish it. You say, wow, you need all the help you can get. You've been working so hard. You need these vitamins and minerals and nourishment. And
Mm.
when you start treating your body well, sleeping, getting enough water, resting when you need it, you become physically healthier and things balance out like the weight around the middle. It's sort of the happy side effect of body respect and treating yourself well.
I really like what you just said. I really like that. It reminds me of a friend of mine who passed away a year ago, and she had had kidney failure for so many years. And she would always remind me to appreciate my body. Because there's so many things she couldn't eat, especially before she would have dialysis. And she would tell me, at least you have that working for you. For example, we'll go to the cafeteria and I'm like, I don't eat that, you know. She's like, I'm gonna eat. It's my cheat day. I have dialysis tomorrow. At least you have working kidneys. So I started reflecting on at least you have, right? And it made me teach my kids to pray for every single part of their body when they're praying. Just thank God for your eyes, for your legs, for your internal organs, because some people don't have that. And a friend had taught me a long time ago when I had a very personal tragedy in my life. She said, you think you are a nobody right now and you have lost everything, there's something you have still that somebody out there wants. So if we start looking at ourselves like, I know that I look in the mirror, I don't like what I see, but there's somebody out there who wants what you have. You have these eyes. I've always been told I have big eyes. And I used to hate them at some point in my life when I was like a lot younger. But when I think that somebody doesn't have eyes, rather have these big eyes to see, what would I do? I would appreciate the big eyes I have because I'm able to see. So if we women in midlife start saying that, yeah, I don't look my best, but I can breathe. I don't look my best, but I can do so. Then we would get out of it because we cannot go back. We cannot go back. We're in menopause. We're going to hit it. We're going to go through it. It's not changing. You're going to wrinkle even a lot more. So hating that 1, 2 wrinkles doesn't fix it for you. And even if you go under the knife, like we do these days a lot, and take off the wrinkles and do the Botox and all that stuff, that's okay, it's temporary. It's gonna come back, or you have to go back and keep doing it. So your work with women, Sarah, is never ending. I don't think it's something somebody can say, oh, I worked with Sarah last week and I'm healed. It's not a healing thing. It's a journey for the rest of your life, the second half of it.
Absolutely. It is a lifelong process because we change
We
and then
do.
we have to learn how to live in that new reality. So every phase of life we've had to adjust. When we went from elementary school into teenage years, we had to adjust to that. When we finished school and got out in the real world, we adjust to that. When you have children, that's a big so every single it's not like you hit midlife and all of a sudden your life doesn't change anymore. Then your kids grow up and move out. Then you're caring for aging parents. Then you retire, maybe you go through a divorce like I did, or you move or whatever. You're always going to have to adjust to change. And it is going to be lifelong.
Yeah,
That's the whole point. You're not
absolutely.
ever there. It's figuring out how to have joy in where you are now and
I agree.
not let other people's view of what you should be doing or what you should be looking like or whatever determine your actions
I
and how
agree.
you want to live.
Yeah.
And when you get in midlife, I think you start realizing that a lot more. You're like, I've been living my whole life so worried about how I look, so worried about, how much money I make or what my house looks like or what kind of car I'm driving or what clothes I wear or who my partner is or how might, what all these things. And then you start going, what? I actually just want to enjoy every day.
Yeah.
And you start shedding those things and it's wonderful. So it
It
is
is.
an amazing time of change and awakening and empowerment if we start doing that work.
Yeah, I agree. I'm one person who takes a critical look at my body in front of the mirror most days. And I think one thing I began to, I'm doing there, I'm like, look at this. It never used to be like that. What's happening here? This is what the 40s are doing. But with people like you, Sarah, just boosting our confidence and just reminding us that as women, we're going to change. We're going to go through all of this. Preparing yourself for it is empowering yourself for it. Just like telling your little girl about expecting to see her period. When it happens, she's prepared. And I think women should not be afraid to get to that point of hot flashes and facing it and knowing that it's yourself point 2.0. So you'll be okay.
Exactly.
You'll be
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
There's a lot we can talk about, Sarah, and I want to give you an open invite to come back because there's a lot that you and I can talk about. But before I let you go, I know I give an assignment to bring a proverb, a wise word, or a favorite quote. But before then, you have a very good website and you have people leaving you beautiful reviews out there. sarahhaswellness.com is where you can find all her information. She is based in Tennessee. And I have this satisfied customer called Christy Shivel. She says, I already knew most of what I needed to know in order to make the healthy choices, but for a variety of reasons, had never successfully implemented those things for a significant length of time. Sarah guided me to look at the underlying causes of my health issues and to shift my focus from losing weight quickly and perhaps temporarily to addressing the issues that led me to live in an unhealthy, unbalanced way to begin with. She helped me to stop blaming myself and to find my inner strength, nourish my spirit, and move towards a healthy balance. What has emerged, she says, and is still emerging, is a stronger me, one that loves myself more and has more respect for my body and my being in general. Look at what you do for women. That is empowering because you know some things, but you don't believe them. I knew I was beautiful. I knew I had a good forehead, but I just never believed in it. Never.
Yeah, we have to encourage each other. We have to lift each other up. And we see the beauty in
Mm-hmm.
each other, and it's hard to see it in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more you can tell other women, not just like you're physically beautiful, but you are a beautiful being. This world, this earth is better because you're here, because of the gifts you've shared and the life you're leading. And that's beauty. That's what true beauty is.
One of my mantras with one of my very good friends is to tell each other one beautiful thing when you see each other. And so I have taken that to other women. Whenever I see a woman, I don't care what she looks like. I always pick one thing on
Mhm.
her to just appreciate. You don't know how far that goes to uplifting a woman. And this one I love because you're working also with young people. And this satisfied customer says, Sarah helped both my teenage boys learn about healthier eating options. She worked with the foods they both liked and focused on making sure they got their fruit and veggies in daily. But most of all, she really explained how different food and exercise help your body help how different food and exercise affect your body. That is really good, Sarah. At
Thank
that young
you.
age, when these boys who are teenagers learn how to eat, how the foods affect their bodies, then they just are heading towards becoming healthier men.
Yeah, and I was actually working with the mom, and she was making changes and feeling great. And
Hmm.
her boys were teenagers, and they don't like to listen to their parents very much. So she said, what if I just start bringing them, and then it can come from you? And so, yeah,
That's good.
it's a
Yeah.
very rewarding job, I
Yeah.
have to
When my
say.
kids go out and eat with their dad and I ask them, what did you eat? They go, "Ah, you're not gonna like it, mom." And I'm like, what did you eat? You're not gonna like it, Mom." Just tell me, because I am the person who is very picky about what we eat at home. And so when I let them have that leeway with dad and eat whatever they want, they're afraid to tell me what they
Hmm.
had. But I'm glad that they have that balance of me saying, hey, you're gonna eat this today or that tomorrow. And sometimes when they have food, like, when I have a piece, you won't like it, mom. You won't like
Yeah.
it because I have made
Yes.
my values when it comes to food known to them.
Yes.
Sarah,
And
thank
I
you so
did want to
much.
mention, if it's okay, that on my website, I have some really great free resources for
You do.
women about their metabolism and recipes and meal
You
prepping and
do.
all of those things.
You do.
So I don't know if you provide links or
I will add the
whatever.
link to this video as well as on YouTube. But I explored your website. It is very beautiful. The way you segmented health and nutrition, and it's just easy to read and to understand. And it's really free information that is going to help you a lot, people. A lot. And yeah, you can contact her on her website, sarahhaswellness.com. And you also have your phone number out there as well, which is 423-677-5436. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
You have
I
a wise word or a
had
proverb for us before you leave?
I do. Yes, actually. So this was written by two journalists,
Mm-hmm.
Mariella Frostrup and Alice Smelly. And they are founders of a group called the Menopause Mandate. And so it's all about menopause and uplifting women. And they said, yes, menopause is, quote, the change, but one for the better. Watch out for the menopausal woman, for she is driven and passionate, and she seeks pastures new. And I think that just encapsulates the power that you do have throughout those menopausal and postmenopausal years.
I agree. So please embrace it because it's not going anywhere. It's going to happen. Sarah, it's been a
Absolutely.
pleasure having you on Talk to Me Africa. Have a wonderful weekend and please come back.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Bye bye now.